In an unprecedented move, Electronic Arts had their E3 press conference way earlier than ever before. It was always on Monday after the Microsoft, before Ubisoft, and before Sony. But they had it a day earlier on a Sunday afternoon before all of them, before Bethesda. They're the first one. So they had plenty of breathing room throughout all of Sunday to take their time or show whatever they need to and really blow the roof off the place. And what did EA do? They were a colossal waste of our time. That was awful. Let's do the recap first, and I'll explain why it was so bad and why it really wasn't worth watching. So if you're watching this instead of watching the press conference, you missed nothing. Don't worry about it. They started off with a dude from Electronic Arts coming out and basically saying, oh, with all of these people watching and all these YouTubers here, we care about what you think and we want to know what you think. You got it. Also, I kind of tweeted about this, but I thought it was kind of a funny joke, and I'll show it here too. So when the dude came out, he had like the screen behind him, because of course they did, and they had the red striped background, which was totally stealing my branding. I have that. That's in my intro. It's in my Twitter page. It's all over the place. You took that from me, EA. It's more of a joke. I'm not actually mad about it, but I thought it was kind of a funny coincidence. Anyway, enough jokes. So the first thing they started off with was Titanfall 2, and they showed off the multiplayer of it, which some things looked cool. I'm still not super impressed by it. I did play the first Titanfall, just the multiplayer beta, and I played the multiplayer beta enough to know that all I really needed to play was just the beta, and I could move on. Some of the cool things they did show was they had a bunch of new Titans. The Titans now have swords and melee weapons now. When you're running on the ground, you have like this grapple hook thingy. They can like shoot to whatever and like bionic commando yourself over to them. So they showed people using that to Titans to get on top of Titans and attack them to get inside of Titans. But they also showed it to grapple another on-foot player and pull yourself towards that player while shooting your gun. And that was actually kind of neat looking. But as I'm watching this, I can't help but feel, especially with the release of, what is it, Black Ops 3 or 2 or 3, and all the Advanced Warfare and Infinity Warfares or whatever of Call of Duty, that this game still just kind of looks a lot like Call of Duty, but with big robots. And I mean that in the terms of like the technology that is shown. The wall running is in all of Call of Duty games now, so there's a lot less kind of freshness here that hasn't really been done before in online multiplayer shooters, but it still looked fine. It'll probably be another one of those things where I'll play the multiplayer beta and be satisfied with it and then move on. Not really a game I'm too invested in. But they did say there is single player coming, so they showed off the single player trailer, which also got leaked just before the conference. And the single player looked like a single player. I don't know. Nothing really there really grabbed my attention about that. It kind of showed that the Titanfall mechs are alive somehow, and they have like their own artificial intelligence, and they recognize who's like piloting them or whatever. And man, I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't understand why people made such a big deal about single player when it's probably only going to last 4 hours, and they just go play the multiplayer anyway. But that was something they felt like they had to do because people complained about the previous Titanfall, because the previous Titanfall didn't have engaging enough multiplayer to make you be satisfied with just that. So I don't think single player is going to really fix the whole package problem. But I could be wrong. I don't think I will be, but that was Titanfall 2. That's what they started off with. And they jumped straight into Madden Football, because of course they did. I don't know anything about Madden Football, so I couldn't tell you what was new. They just talked about how they're really amping up their competitive ideas, where basically certain weekends they will have EA will host live events online and challenges and whatever. They're basically trying to do like their own esports thing, so much so that at E3 right now they had 8 of the best Madden players, whatever, and they're gonna face off for $50,000, I guess. So they're basically just trying to push their own esports-esque tournament plays or leagues or events or whatever just for Madden through themselves, which in terms of further elevating esports, cool. In terms of me caring about Madden, it doesn't. Now, the next thing they showed was probably the one thing I was really looking forward to the whole time, and they finally talked about Mass Effect Andromeda. And I didn't really get much out of that because they didn't really show much. It was a lot of behind the scenes things, kind of like what they did with Star Wars Battlefront. I think it was 2 years ago when they first started talking about the new Star Wars Battlefront. It was a lot of concept images and a guy at a computer and he's drawing on stuff and typing away and programming. And they're like, the game's coming, we're working on it. But they didn't actually show the game itself, really showcase it very, very well. One of the things they said about Mass Effect Andromeda that stood out to me is that they said, your mission is you go past the Milky Way galaxy into Andromeda, into new areas where you're the outsider alien and you're exploring these new areas and new world, which to me kind of sounds Star Trek-y, which sounds cool. Like if they go that route, which is more about exploration and kind of discovering these species and life and new planets or whatever, that could be really, really cool. And one of the things they showed in the teaser trailers was a lot of ship stuff. Not just not the Normandy, but whatever ship they're on. Like they showed that plenty, but there was also a lot of other spaceships going on. Not much context as to why they're there, but they showed a lot of them. And if that's a hint at, and I am totally just making stuff up here, but if they are hinting at space battles at all, man, that would be cool. Mass Effect space battles would be really, really cool. I don't know if they actually will or not, but I would be on board for that. Because again, that would kind of lead in credence to it being kind of Star Trek-y. Only other real things they showed in that brief teaser behind the scenes trailer was there's a new Asari. She had like a face paint streak across her face. The Mako's there. That we're gonna drive around some more. You shoot some dudes. The cover is still there. The Citadel is still around, so either rebuilt or it's before Mass Effect 3. Yep. That's it. That's all they had for Mass Effect. Moving on, they talked about EA Origin a little bit, and they basically said, please use our online game service. No. I refuse, EA. They did talk about a cool idea where they would set up Origin base or in-game challenges, like, again, I'm making one up, Star Wars Battlefront, to shoot Vader in the head 10 times. And if you do in-game challenges like that, EA will then make a charitable donation to one of 5 or 6 charities, which is a cool idea. It's not going to make me want to use Origin, but cool that they're doing that. After that, they went on to FIFA 2017. And this is another one of those staple games that they have to talk about. It doesn't matter how much you care about it. I don't care about sports games, but I know a lot of people out there do, especially when it comes to soccer or football. All I really got out of that was it has an in-depth story mode about Alex Hunter. I have no idea who Alex Hunter is, and I apologize if that's somehow sacrilegious. But yeah, they're really pushing like basically a story mode. They also basically said, we have FIFA managers in our game. Look at them. Okay, again, without context, because I really don't watch the sport or enjoy it, I don't know why that's a big deal. Or even if it was something I did enjoy, I don't know why managers would be a big deal. Are managers a big deal in FIFA? Like, I don't even know the dude's name. They had one on stage. If he was in the game and somehow involved in your team, whatever, is that kind of a big deal? Would that make you get excited for it, or would it make you want to play the game more? I don't know. It's hard to say. But then they actually finally went into talking about the FIFA gameplay, and they talked about how they had overhauled ball control and new ways to get goals, and you can have new possibilities open up with every flick of the stick or whatever they said. And I swear to God, I hear them say the exact same thing about how they're completely overhauling the gameplay and the ball physics and whatever, so you get new, better ball control than ever before. I swear to God, they say that every single year, verbatim, which I'm pretty sure I said this exact same thing last year. It's just kind of like general promises without a whole lot of specifics, which is basically the best summation I can think of the EA press conference now that I've said that. So after that, they talked about the new EA Originals initiative, and this was basically inspired by the release of Yarny last year. Yarny was that really cute yarn character that had the super nervous developer talking about him, and is extremely endearing, and the game ended up being really, really cute too. So they basically have an initiative where they are working with indie developers and help fund them to get their games made, and EA would publish them. which they said, we want all profits of these indie games to go right back to the developers, which concerns me, because my thought is, like, what is EA getting out of this, and what is in the contract that EA is getting from said indie developers? Aside from, you know, the standard practice of their souls, what else are they getting? I don't know. So they did talk about how they are going to continue to bring new indie games out as inspired by Yarny, and they showed off one called Fe, F-E. I don't really know what else much to say about it, other than it kind of looked like a cross between Spyro and Limbo. Like, it was a dark, weirdly polygonal world, and all of the strange creatures had glowing white eyes, but he had like the kind of 3D movement, and the creature kind of looked like Spyro in that kind of shape and sense. You like learn different songs that you sing to interact with the environment and different creatures. That one didn't really catch my attention or my eyes as much as, say, Yarny last year, because Yarny was much more simple and easier to show off. I feel like there's something within Fe, but I would need like actual raw gameplay to really get an idea of what that is, rather than this montage-based trailer. After Fe, hold on, let me rewind a little bit. So back during the FIFA 2017 part, they were talking about whatever FIFA stuff, and they had some really bad scripted banter that made it look supposed to be like, fun, what are you doing here, manager guy? My favorite part about all of that was a lower third came across the bottom that just said, in 5 minutes, Star Wars. As if to say, we have to talk about FIFA, but don't go away, we got Star Wars coming. And sure enough, they did, because Star Wars was after the EA originals. And what they show off in Star Wars? Practically nothing. They basically said, we have a crap ton of Star Wars games coming, baby, because we've got the Star Wars license. The first thing they mentioned was another Star Wars Battlefront coming out in 2017. And that left a really bad taste in my mouth. Even though I know Star Wars is another Battlefront is coming, we've all known that. But the most recent Battlefront hasn't even been out for a year. Not even a year yet. And they're like, we're making another one. And that's gonna make people not want to play your first Battlefront, or not care about that season pass or whatever DLC you're doing for that, or it's not gonna make you want to buy it once on sale for your freaking EA Origin service that you want everyone so badly to do. We know the game's coming, by the fact that it's coming so soon, they're already hyping it up so soon, just seems like a really bad idea. Now, that being said, they did say the new Battlefront game is going to have stuff from the new movies in it. Great, alright. Maybe we'll get space battles too. Or fun. So they also talked about how they have like 2 or 3 other Star Wars games. In 2018, an action-adventure game is also on the way from Visceral. And Amy Hennig, who worked on the Uncharted games, is also working on it, which makes me think we're going to get an Uncharted-esque Star Wars game. In fact, they showed like 5 seconds of whatever that game was, and it looked like a Nathan Drake type of dude walking through Tatooine as TIE fighters flew across. In that third-person perspective and everything. That's all I can think of. Alright, cool. And then they also said, in 2018, or also even possibly later, Respawn Entertainment, you know, the guys who made Titanfall, they're also doing a Star Wars game. Well, okay, what can you tell us about that Star Wars game? Nothing, just, you know, there's more Star Wars coming. And that's all they had to say about Star Wars. It was a lot of... Again, it was another one of the things where it was a lot of behind the scenes, like, here's some guys practicing some lightsaber fights, here's a dude drawing away in a computer, and he swears he's working on a Star Wars game, without actually showing anything new or fresh. They just said, we're doing it, totally. And then they ended with Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1, I actually am looking forward to, because I do enjoy the Battlefield games. I had a crazy amount of fun with 1942, and even Vietnam, which I remember a lot of people saying sucked back then, and I don't know why, because I had a lot of fun with Vietnam. And after all the modern day shooters and the futuristic shooters, going back to World War I is going to be fun. What was weird is that they're doing like a Battlefield 1 tournament or whatever there, and they like cut to a dude being like, oh yeah, Battlefield 1, everyone's excited for it, including these celebrities. And it's Jamie Foxx and Zac Efron just looking around like, oh yeah, I'm hype. It was a very bizarre unflattering moment for Battlefield 1. There's just another thing, like, we got celebrities. No one cares, EA. That will never make anyone care. It just won't. Now, they did show some actual Battlefield gameplay, which they showed like they showed like a teaser first, and they're like, don't worry, you'll see more, but first celebrities. Okay, now let's see more. And then they basically played the same teaser, and it just extended it by a couple extra minutes. That was another strange moment, rather than having separate teasers for like a single player or something, and the multiplayer, whatever. So that being said, within the stuff they showed in the teaser, I still think it looks cool. The biplanes, the horses. They talked about how you can have armored trains, how you have the giant Zeppelin blimps flying around. Something I'm kind of hoping for, again, I'm pulling this out of my ass completely. They didn't say anything about that. Seeing the giant Zeppelins and like those being shot down, it kind of makes me hope for like a Zeppelin versus Zeppelin mode. Kind of like the, I forgot the name of the mode, but in Battlefield 2142, you basically had like two flying ships and you had to like destroy the other team's flying ship. I'm hoping they do something like that with like these two Zeppelins and the biplanes and artillery strikes and whatever. And you just have to take down the other team's Zeppelin. I think that could be a cool game mode. They also talked, they showed like the armored train going across and has like cannons and stuff on top as they shoot each other, and people were riding on horses going up against it. It was using the in-game engine, but it was still like pre-rendered stuff, not a whole lot of actual gameplay. But I'm also hoping maybe that's another new game mode where it's just armored train mode. Like, train has to get from start to end. One team defends the train, whereas the other team on horses or whatever has to like board the train and take it out. I think that would be a cool game mode. Will it actually happen, or is it actually a thing? I have no idea. The game comes out in like 4 months, so even if they see this and get the idea, make it DLC or something, if you don't already do it. Now, they didn't really show a whole lot of actual Battlefield gameplay at all, because they had like a huge tournament thing going on after the conference that they're also live streaming. But we're not talking about what happens after the conference or before the conference. We're talking about the conference itself, and they didn't really show a whole lot. And that's how they closed out EA's 1 hour. There's not a whole lot shown. One thing I do wish they did, and they didn't at all, is I wish they would have talked about Mirror's Edge 2. Because the game is out, and no one realizes it. Did you even know that Mirror's Edge 2 is out? It is. It came out not even a week ago. They released it so close to E3 and all the other things that are going on, all these other things that they're hyping up. No one even realizes that Mirror's Edge Catalyst came out. They should just, even if it's like a minute, to show like, hey, just a reminder, Mirror's Edge out now, to remind people that the game is out and they can play it and buy it right now, probably would help the game a lot. Because otherwise, at least to me, it seems like everyone has kind of forgotten about it. That would have been a good move on themselves to help their own game. But they didn't do that, and they didn't really show a whole lot. So, at the end, what I kind of noticed throughout all of EA's press conference was they had nothing that was new. It was a game that we already knew was coming. It was a sequel in a franchise that we're already familiar with. Or was another sports game. Like, we knew Titanfall 2 was coming. We knew another Star Wars Battlefront was coming. We knew about Mass Effect Andromeda for ages. Madden and FIFA, of course, there was going to show up. We knew about Battlefield 1, even though Battlefield 1 looks pretty cool. But they didn't really have anything new or surprising. Aside from Fi, which is an indie game, so technically not theirs, if you really think about it. And that's all they really had, and there wasn't enough attention there to really make me care about it. And since they didn't have any kind of surprises, they also didn't have a bomb moment, you know, where that one time where they show something that's so amazing that gets people talking about it and wow, it was so cool during that conference. They didn't have that at all. They had the opportunity to, in my opinion, with Mass Effect Andromeda, because Mass Effect is a very big series, and if they would have shown some actual legit gameplay presentation of it, it would have killed. But they didn't. Instead, it was still behind the scenes stuff and, you know, conceptual art and talking to artists and directors and programmers rather than showing the game. Nothing here was actually shown. It was a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It was a lot of talking about the fact that they're doing a game rather than showing the game itself. And that was all of their games. I also counted, they showed half as many games this year as they did the last. And that's kind of a trouble sign to me, especially when we're now, 3-4 years into this console generation and they don't have a whole lot of new stuff gearing up. I don't know, that's worrying to me, because I feel like now's the kind of time we get to the point where all the really cool, really good stuff starts coming out, now that people figured out the systems and they know how to develop for it, and they can do a lot of things much quicker. And I didn't see that from EA at all. So, end of the day, EA's press conference was a huge waste of time, because really nothing was shown that you didn't already know about or didn't already see. Final grade for Electronic Arts is a D. Just D. They didn't outright fail by any means, but man, they could have put in, I believe it's way more effort, I think is the actual letter grade. Yeah, just nothing new, nothing fresh, no actual gameplay presentations that would actually like get people hooked into it. They're all saving that for some other times, or doing it for the tournaments or whatever afterwards. I will say I'm glad they kept their conference much shorter than they did last year, but I really wish they were much smarter with their time. You were the start, EA. You could have started everything with a bang and made people forget about their conferences, but instead it was just kind of not enough there. And I feel like I said that last year too. Maybe 1 year you'll learn. Well, at least with that out of the way, we got plenty more press conferences to come, and maybe EA's will make all of them look better. Here's hoping.